Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Certified Podcast. I'm your host, Mike Ginn. Got a real special guest this week. I go way back with this dude. I'm talking about, been about 18 years now since I've last seen him. We used to rock it down in Raleigh in the nightclub scene. He was DJing it up then. He's still DJing it now, killing it. He's the tour DJ for Kid and Play. I'm talking about Mr. Lord Have Mercy. I hope I did that justice. Mr. DJ
Perfect.
Bro-Rabb. What's up, homie?
Perfect. Can't get more perfect than that.
Mr. Lord Have Mercy.
There it is. There you go. What's
The
good,
butter
man?
team and all that stuff. Man, you've been staying busy.
Trying to, bruh. You trying to use my gift God gave me, man.
Yeah, we were just talking about offline, like how you've been trying to keep like Zoom and all this other stuff doing DJing during the pandemic. But
yeah,
I mean, even before the pandemic, though, you were sitting there. You're the tour DJ now for Kid and Play. Your other homie's doing Skaz doing what? Big Daddy Kane?
Yeah, he been with Kane since probably 1998, 99, somewhere around there.
We'll get back into all that stuff, but how'd you guys get hooked up with those guys? Was it when they were doing those tours through the Carolinas?
Well, as far as Kid and Play is concerned, Play lived in Durham for a while. He was at North Carolina Central.
Okay.
Helping out with the hip hop elective class with Ninth Wonder. So we hooked up from there, and even before that, Play helped us out with this documentary that my crew, the Butter Team, did called Welcome to Durham. So that had to been 03, somewhere around there. And Play helped us out with that. So after the whole Welcome to Durham thing, popped off, me and Play just started working on other things together.
Man, I'm listening to you and I'm already picturing myself gonna go back to saying Durham instead of Durham. I'm like, it took me a long time to get that out of my system to go back to saying it normal, but now you're gonna start getting that Southern dialect back in me. But go ahead. Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt.
As long as you don't say Durham.
Right.
I hate hearing that. Or Kakalaka.
Well, I mean, Kakalaki, but like in fairness,
I was never a fan of that.
Well, you know where that comes from, right?
Enlighten me.
I didn't know this until I lived down there. When I was living in Carolina a couple years, at one point I was going into South Carolina. I was going to down to Myrtle Beach, and I was cutting through, and right off, not far off 95, I don't believe, might have been 85, but I think it was 95. There's a lake called Lake Kakalaki, and the lake goes on both sides of North and South Carolina. And so
I didn't
a
know
long
that.
time ago, if you were on South side, you were in South Kakalaki. You were on North side, you were in North Kakalaki. And that's actually funny story. That's where it comes from.
I just never liked that term. It sound like a foot disease. Ooh, you got that cackalack. I was never a fan of that. But
anyway, I'm sorry. Go back to talking about Play.
You just put me up on something. I lived in South
We all
Carolina
learn something every day.
Year.
We all learn something every day.
Exactly. So I got to write that down. But anyway, me and Play started working on things together. He had his brand news website going on, so I was doing mixes for him and just doing little odds and ends, and then it just
was this back like 2010?
Probably before that. Well, right around there. And then it just ultimately spilled into Kid and Play because, mind you, Kid and Play wasn't active for a while. You know what I mean? They really didn't start getting active again until like 2014, 2015-ish.
Yeah, they were both off doing different things in life.
Yeah, Kid, he was doing his stand-up comedy and making film appearances and television show appearances, and he does a lot of behind-the-scenes music for talk shows and things like that.
Yeah, I knew he was doing the acting. I didn't know the behind-the-scenes TV show stuff though.
Yeah, a lot of people don't really know about that, but he always had his hands in something. But yeah, just ultimately spilled into Kid and Play.
Yeah, Play was the one I always kind of wondered what happened to, because Kid was still kind of visible for a long time, and Play was kind of like out of the scene, like he didn't want to be seen for a long time.
Well, he
because he had some of those legal troubles too.
Well, not so much legal stuff, but the main thing was he got back heavily into church. you know. So he was, for a long time, the whole Kid and Play thing was kind of put to bed, you know.
Yeah.
But then, you know, the 25th anniversary of House Party came about. So I guess some of those offers were, you know, saying, why not consider an offer or two? Then this I Love the 90s tour came up with Salt-n-Pepa, Coolio, Vanilla Ice, who else? Biz, All for One, Color Me Bad. I mean, it was a whole lot of us on that package.
Yeah, I remember you talking about it. Yeah, I remember seeing all the tour flyers and stuff like that. Being jealous I wasn't still down there. I was like, shit.
I was
like, y'all gonna do all that after I leave? Like, y'all started doing all that after I left.
Oh yeah, right.
I mean, we go way back. You're talking about, we're going way back. Like, you talking about when I first met you, it was like 2002. I think it was 2002.
Oh yeah.
I was working at the club.
I was heavy in the clubs at that time.
Yeah, I was working at a place used to be called Clifton's on Newton. Clifton's, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah,
I think they call it, what do they call it now? The Raleigh Event Center?
It's nothing now.
Nothing's just empty.
As far as entertainment wise, it's nothing now.
Yeah, last I heard they were doing like weddings and stuff out of there.
Probably. Clifton's was a good time. I remember that. Every Saturday night.
Yeah, because we had Cool Sheet on Fridays and you on Saturdays. And
right.
Every once in a while we get Skills in there.
Right.
Yeah, like if one of you guys weren't available, then they'd sub in Skills. So it was,
I think
DJ in there.
Skills was living in Atlanta at the time, if I'm not mistaken. He's in Charlotte now. But
so he drove all the way from Atlanta to do the shows?
Well, you know, his manager E. Terry was here in Raleigh.
Yeah.
So I however they worked that out.
So wherever he got a gig, I guess.
Right. And I know he was going to St. Aug for a minute.
But that was an all-star crew right there. You, Sheed, and him.
Oh yeah.
I mean, for a club that nobody ever heard of in the middle of nowhere, because it wasn't even in downtown Raleigh, it was in North Raleigh, which was kind of good because we also got people from Durham, got people from Chapel Hill, got people from Raleigh. All three would like kind of come in at once in that one spot. Because we were like
that was one of the few clubs you really didn't have any problems.
Well, once I remember once.
I've been to clubs where something happened every week.
Yeah, so. considering we were probably the only like major urban nightclub, back with a group. I guess they're long since gone, but a group called Savage Six.
Savage Six. That was Glenn and them.
Yeah, and then Diamond took over, I think. After that,
right?
But,
man, I haven't seen any of the Savage Six guys in a long time.
Yeah, I was talking to a friend of mine who used to work with, was actually like cousins with one of them, and she said they like moved to Atlanta and some other places. So I don't know, but I mean, you're talking about 18 years ago, so yeah, that was a long time ago.
That just lets you know how far back is. Man, listen, doing this 30 years, bro, since I was 14.
Damn, man.
And I was doing 21 and up clubs before I was old enough to be in them.
Yeah, you and I first connected though, because we were talking about the X-Ecutioners.
Oh yeah, talking about Rob Swift, Rock Raider.
Yeah, because I used to come over to DJ booth and we just be kicking it about X-Ecutioners the whole damn night.
Those were my boys right there.
Yeah,
I still say they would. I mean, you had a lot of DJ crews that did battle techniques and things. My favorite was always the X-Ecutioners. Rob Swift, Total Eclipse, Rock Raider.
There you go.
I
sat there not too long ago. I'm looking for the vinyl version. Not too long ago, I sat there and was coming across some old music I used to rock to a lot.
Mm-hmm. I had the X-Ecutioners sign my album. I got that exact album. I had it 2 weeks before it dropped. They had signed it for me, and then Rock Raider died.
Yeah, unfortunately, yeah. I used to have like the vinyl and all that shit of it, but unfortunately, the just between moving and life, and I lost them. And then I started looking for unopened CDs because Amazon has a bunch of like really great CDs that had never been like, brand new, unopened, right? For like $4, $5, because nobody listens to CDs anymore. And so I started getting a few of them as collector's items.
I still have all my CDs in my living room.
Half my old ones turned into coasters. That's why I started buying new ones like unopened.
They're good for decoration.
Yeah. I don't know if you can kind of see, if you look over this shoulder, I got the Pharoah Monch album over there too. And that one's autographed.
I opened for Pharoah Monch once. I didn't get a chance to get his autograph on my album or anything. But do you remember the Cat's Cradle, right?
No.
Or the Cat's Cradle was a venue in Chapel Hill going into Carrboro.
Oh, Chapel Hill, yeah, I remember.
That was the spot where all the underground hip hop acts would go. I opened for KRS like 4 times there. I opened for the X-Ecutioners at the Cradle, and actually, Lil Brother was the opening group.
Yeah, yep. I mean, I've known I know the brother of Little Brother. They're from Alexandria. They're from Alexandria, where I'm from, and Thomas and Little Brother, his brother Ronnie and I grew up together. So I kind of like know him, but I don't know him. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like through association, just always being around. Same thing with Donnell Rawlings. Like I grew up with his brother Daoud. Like we all went to school together. So like, you know, small world. But funny enough about Little Brother, like, yeah, I saw them. It might have been Cat's Cradle. It was somewhere down there. And like one of my friends was like, you know him, right? And I was like, I'm not gonna go up to that dude. He hasn't seen me in 10 years. like I'm not that kind of dude.
Little brother was Fonte Pooh and Knife.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, one of them's real name is Thomas.
Right. Okay.
Whose name is Thomas?
I'm with you now. I'm with you. Yeah.
Yeah.
They went to Central.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna give you a fun fact. The last 2 Fonte albums, Charity Starts at Home, and what was the one that came after that? Bad No News is Good News, something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
The intro.
I have to look it up.
The intro to those albums was me introducing Little Brother at the Cat's Cradle.
Oh, that's dope. I'm gonna have to go find that then.
Yes, you have to go find that. And somebody else told me about it. I ain't even know nothing about it.
They sampled it and you didn't get no royalties off that joint?
Nah, no, that's those my people, man. I ain't worried about that.
Yeah. So you've been rocking with Kid and Play for now, what? Like officially what, like about 5-6 years, but for longer than that with Play.
Professionally 5.
And then longer than that with Play, because you were telling the story about Play in Central. But
yeah.
How long? So you've been DJing since 14. How long have you been doing? Because you've been doing. So you DJ, you did you've been doing radios for about 20 years.
Right, off and on. Yeah.
Off and on. Yeah, you and the Butter Team, and then from that you guys took the Butter Team to do a lot of different stuff and do tours and stuff like that. Right. But all you guys used to do, like, y'all started together on the radio, right?
Well,
or were you friends before that?
How should I put this? We all did different stuff. We all just came together as a collective. Mike Nice and Mad, they did the radio. I was still in high school, so I was just doing, house parties and whatever I could do. Skaz, he was the one he was killing all the clubs and the mixtapes. Lil B was big on the mixtape scene. And we had another, and Courtney C, Courtney C started off as a rapper.
Yeah.
But he was always the one that had all the insight. You know what I'm saying? Like, you should be doing this and you should do it like this. He always had his hand, his pulse on what was going on, and he was always good at foreseeing what was getting ready to come.
Yeah.
So we got together collectively as a crew, I would say around 96. And we dropped a historical mixtape in 97. I remember it came out on my 21st birthday.
Was that the one?
So from there we just started doing we was doing college radio. We were doing Straight from the Crate.
Well, hold on 1 second. That mixtape, was that the one that was like, and I'm dating myself here, but was that the one that was like all over like MySpace and stuff like that back then? Like the one you guys uploaded?
This was years before MySpace.
Okay. I remember you guys had like one mixtape that I remember I used to listen to a lot especially when I did that written interview with you back with Pure Style.
That probably would have been the Welcome to Durham mixtape.
Yeah. So it's about 10 years before that.
Right. Okay. But we did a mixtape in 1997. We had freestyles from Diamond D, OC, Helter Skelter. Like, they actually came to Durham, and we recorded them in the studio at North Carolina Central.
Okay.
Who else? I think Kid Capri. Yeah, matter of fact, yeah, we actually hosted Kid Capri when he put out his Soundtrack to the Streets album. We had him in Central Cafeteria. We hosted that. Anytime, you know what I'm saying, people will come to the market, they will come see us. You know what I mean? I remember interviewing.
That was a hot spot for a
T.I.
long time.
I remember interviewing T.I. when nobody knew who he was. Before the I'm Serious album dropped, he only had 2 songs. Man, I could go for days talking about those stories.
That's why I brought you on.
Hey, shoot, look, bring it on.
So T.I., when you first met T.I., you said 2 songs, so that was even pre-mixtape?
He had I'm Serious was a single. Then he had a record with Beanie Siegel called 2 Glock 9s.
Okay. Was he I guess he's always been kind of in Atlanta, but he's kind of bounced around a little bit too.
He was repping Atlanta big time.
Yeah.
By the time when he had his first album, but see, I interviewed him before the album came out. This before he became T.I. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, it was a few years after. It was even a couple more years after that until Rubber Band Man came out.
Yeah. See, by the time he did Rubber Band and all that, he was big by that time.
Yeah, especially on like the underground, and then Rubber Band Man kind of took him like mainstream.
Yeah, that's to this day, that's still one of my favorite albums. The trap music album, that album's classic. That's classic.
I get in fights with people when they talk about trap music. I'm like, this shit ain't trap music. I'm like, I'll let you listen to trap music, y'all. Like even Future's barely even trap music anymore.
Oh yeah, he's damn near pop.
But you talk about old T.I., like not even like Rubber Band Man. Go back to his mixtapes. That's trap music.
Right.
I mean, it's talking about drug deals. It's talking about getting caught up in shit. Like that's the whole essential point of trap music.
Should listen to the first Jeezy album.
Yeah,
that's classic. That's my album right there. Thug Motivation. I loved it.
It took me a while for that to grow on me. When that first came out, I wasn't fucking with it. I was like, I just thought it was almost too street. Like I was just like, man, it's like it sounded so real. It didn't sound real. Does that make sense?
No, I totally get it, man.
And then the more I listened to it, and especially the more I got to know who Jeezy was, like I realized that okay, this is real. Like he's just telling his shit. And then the more, and also sometimes you listen to something 2 or 3 times, then starts to grow on you.
Since we on the Atlanta tip, don't judge me, but I didn't like Outkast the first time I heard him.
I don't think you're alone in that. I think Outkast grew on people too.
It took a couple records to get me there. Like when I first heard Players Ball, it was like, you know what I'm saying? But when I heard that Get Up, Get Out and Get Something, I was like, okay.
For the longest time, they always had like 2 or 3 tracks I really liked, and then the rest of the album I couldn't stand. And it wasn't even necessarily the radio like tracks. Sometimes like I would listen to whole albums. I'd give them a chance because I was really heavy in music back then, and I'd listen to all the albums, and I'm like, man, why does everybody love this?
I had a homie that I used to ride out with a lot. When Southern Playalistic came out, we were still in high school. I was a senior, and he used to play Funky Ride every day. He made me like that album. Like, I'm gonna play this album every day until you like it. I'm like, okay.
I'll tell you a true story. Raleigh radio in Raleigh. Was it 97?
97.5?
Yeah, Power 97.5 Power FM.
Was 97.5 WQOK. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they are the reasons why I like Ludacris. Because no joke, every time I was driving to work, Saturday would come on, and later Move Bitch came on, but they would play that song so much that it just got stuck in my head.
Well, what's your fantasy?
Yeah, like the Saturday, ooh, like that song.
It's Saturday. Yeah,
that song they would play nonstop. I'd be driving by Crabtree Mall going to work, and I can still remember it, like I can still see it, and they would just keep playing that song.
I had a good friend that used to date him. That's how I learned about Luda. Before he really had a major deal. My homegirl used to date him.
Damn, there's so much good music that came out while I was living there in 2001 and 2002.
That was a good time.
Also, one of the biggest tragedies, by the way, when I was living there was also when Aaliyah died, because I was still remember being in a Food Line parking lot in Raleigh down by NC State, by where I lived. And I could still remember like it coming on the radio and just being in shock.
Bruh, I can tell you exactly where I was. I was DJing at Duke on the quad. It had to be about 1,500 people out there. We was rocking
in the middle of the day.
And if you remember Ray J. Ray J had a record called "Wait a Minute" with Lil Kim.
Yeah,
that's exactly what I was playing. My two-way pager was going off. You remember two-way pagers?
Yeah.
I actually still have mine in somewhere in my archives. But
I was on cell phones. I was on cell phones then, but yeah, I do remember my pagers.
The big two-way pager kept going off. So I just finally just read it and my man was like, "Did you hear about Aaliyah?" I'm like, "No." He's like, "Man, she died in a plane crash." And then another page came in, Aaliyah just died in a plane. I was like, "Y'all got to be kidding me." Like, imagine stopping the music to announce that in front of 1,500 people.
And the room just dropped. The whole quad probably just like went silent.
Just quiet. It was total shock. We weren't expecting to hear that. Not, well, you never expect to hear stuff like that, but that was a big loss. Imagine
her and Left Eye died right around the same time, and like both of them they were like a year apart.
Something like that. When we got the news about Left Eye, I was leaving the club in DC, headed back to the hotel. They came on the radio. Could not believe it. I just knew I had the biggest crush on Left Eye. My God.
You gonna fight Andre Rison for?
This before all of that. But when I first bought the TLC A2 product, the Beck 12-inch, she was on the cover with a rubber on her eye. I was like, that's weird, but that chick is fine. Like they
were all fine. I was more into T-Boss, but they were all fine.
You're right. But Left Eye was my one. We actually
always fuck with T-Boss.
We did some shows with TLC a couple years ago on Out of the 90s. It's like you could tell she's missed.
Oh yeah, I mean, they were a trio. Like it wasn't like, and they all had their parts. It wasn't just like, they all did the same thing and they were all together. They all kind of had their own like unique role. And if you're taking the rapper out of the group and they never obviously replaced her, then
you can't replace her. You can't. They had but on that show, what they did, they had her on the big screen in the back. So they like T-Boz and Chili would still do the choreography, and Left Eye would be doing her parts on the big screen. Like, you know what I'm saying? They had it organized real nice. But again, she's missed.
Yeah, I saw them do some concert online. It was like something on YouTube, and this is probably like 2 or 3 years ago, and they had the video version of her in the background.
Mm-hmm.
They've always included her. They've never tried not to, which has always been cool.
Left Eye was so you just can't. You got to have her in there somewhere. You can't replace her. That's just like you can't replace Jam Master Jay. You can't replace Eazy-E. You can't replace these people.
I've actually been kind of upset lately about the news because I guess last year they arrested a couple people in connection with that, and now all of a sudden they're kind of been
hearing about that.
Yeah, they're kind of like diminishing Jay's name a little bit too, because they're talking about like the situation around it. Now they're talking about it was a drug deal, it was this and that, and it's just like, man, he ain't here to defend himself.
Right. And I mean,
I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm not saying it's not true, and nobody knows. Like we weren't there.
Yeah, we don't know. We don't know.
But it's just kind of like years later after a legend passes away, like you gonna bring it up now?
Hey man, you know how people do, man.
Yeah, I mean everybody's got to defend themselves. They were like, they were arrested for the crime, and then they're like, well, it was because of this, and it was like, all right.
Jay's not here to defend himself, so
yeah. I've never heard Run or DMC come out and say anything different. So
you ain't gonna hear you probably not gonna hear them say anything.
Nah, especially Run. He ain't gonna get involved in that.
Right.
I see DMC on some stuff sometimes, and he kind of like talks about behind the scenes stuff, but I've never seen Run always tries to keep that good.
Run.
Run always tries to keep that face, that public image.
Right.
Especially now that he's been in the church for so long and everything else.
Mm-hmm. No, I totally understand that.
You see Diggy out more than you see Run out now.
I used to like that show, that Run's House show.
I ain't gonna lie, that first single that Diggy dropped that made you look off Nas's track. That shit was dope.
Oh no, dude could rap.
He's got skill. I don't think he's ever really put his whole heart into it. Otherwise, I think he'd be bigger than what he is now. But
the funny thing about that, I never, as much as I love Run DMC, I love their records. I grew up on them. I never thought Run was nice on the mic, but he just got such a delivery. He made you believe it. You know what I'm saying? To me, DMC was the better rapper. To me,
I think he was the better rapper, but I think it was a group. I think it was like everybody. Not quite like TLC, like obviously they all had the same role kind of, but they all played off each other.
Like, and DMC wrote a lot of the raps anyway, so.
Yeah, but they kind of bounced off each other, like, because Run had more personality.
Yeah, that's what I mean. He had more personality, more delivery. He brought you in. It's like Nice and Smooth.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Greg Nice, he's such a character. He got such personality. He gets you so hyped, but he ain't really saying anything. But he's the party rocker. Smooth B, he the one with the smooth voice and he the one that really be rapping to me.
Yeah, Pete Rock, CL Smooth, same thing.
Yeah, CL Smooth's the voice.
Gangstar.
Pete Rock is the music.
Yeah, Gangstar.
Oh yeah. Ever seen Gangstar live?
No, I never out there. They were my favorite act for a long time, and I never got the chance to see them live.
Bro, them dudes got so many records. Primo is one of my favorite producers of all time too.
Yeah, I think well, at least down in Raleigh, the only people I saw live in Raleigh I saw a few underground shows with some people I didn't even know who they were at the time. And then
oh really?
And then DMX came to Mission Valley one day unannounced, like they announced it the morning of, and he did a free concert in Mission Valley. And that was like down the street from my house. So I went to that. And that was insane. He was like an hour and a half late. He was an hour and a half late as usual. He was like sitting in the bus getting high, doing whatever he was.
Right.
They had like some DJ battle, or not DJ battle. They had some DJs from the radio station on stage trying to like keep the crowd like to stay there. Mm-hmm. And then they had a bunch of people doing like freestyle competitions. Like they had some like rap battle, like to try to like pass the time.
Mm-hmm. And there's something to eat up the time and keep the crowd's interest.
Yeah, and then he finally came on, and I mean he crushed it. Don't get me wrong, he crushed it for like a good hour and a half, 2 hours. Like he went for a long time. Mm-hmm. Track after track. I mean, this is back at this might have been Rough Riders at that point. I know it was way
99-ish.
This is 2002.
Oh, okay.
So this might have been Rough Riders Volume 2. I feel like it was Volume 2 at that point. And I could be wrong, and he killed it, and it was insane. The crowd was crazy, and it was all a free concert. And it was like you can't really complain that the dude was late. You weren't paying for it.
Right.
You just got there on time.
Exactly. I did an after party for DMX and Nas. I think it's about 5-6 years ago, something like that, when they came to the D-Pad.
Okay.
Yep. And I remember DMX had stayed in the pool room the whole time playing pool. Mm-hmm. People wanted to take pictures with him. Be like, let me finish my game. Let me finish my game.
That was Bill Bellamy back in Clifton. Like when Bill Bellamy and his crew came. Remember, because we used to get all those like comedy after shows. You remember that? Earthquake,
right?
Bill Bellamy, right. Bruce, all those dudes would come through.
I forgot all about. Man, listen, I forgot all about that. You just messed me up with that. I remember Bill Bellamy.
Yeah, he came through. They had to pull me from upstairs. I was sitting there in the office that day. I wasn't even bartending. I was doing like some management stuff, and I was upstairs. Mm-hmm. And one of the bartenders comes running upstairs. He's like, "Mike, Bill Bellamy's here," and I'm like, "All right, cool. I mean, I'm a fan, but I'm not going to gush over it. That's just not who I am."
Right.
And I was a big fan of Bill Bellamy, believe it or not. Shit, Fastlane, all those shows, MTV. I thought he was dope. How to Be a Player. Back when Lark Voorhees was bad.
Yeah, you took it back.
Yeah, and so I was a big fan, but I was like, I'm not gonna go down there rushing down. If I happen to see him, cool, whatever.
Do you remember at Clifton's when Scarface came?
I remember, but I wasn't there, believe it or not. But real quick on the story.
So
the bartender comes up.
After party for women's empowerment.
Yeah, I remember the event. I happened to be off that day. But real quick, so the bartender comes up and he's like, they want this drink. It's called a Royal Flush. We never heard of it. What is it? And of course, I'm from DC. Everybody back then ordered Royal Flushes. It wasn't even like,
right.
peach schnapps, cranberry, Crown. Like, all right, that's it. And they're like, all right. And they go down and make it. They didn't like it. Can you make it? Can you come down and make it? And so, true story, I went down and had to make, like 10, 11 rounds of like Royal Flush shots for Bill Bellamy and his crew, because that's all they would drink. And then at some point they wanted to make it into a drink. They wanted like on the rocks so they could sip it. I'm just like, all right, whatever.
Right. Well, as a bar, I don't really know about the life of a bartender like that, but don't they have like a Rolodex with like how to make all the drinks by the register?
Back then, yeah. But that wasn't one of those like classics. Like it was a shot. Like you either kind of knew it or you didn't.
Oh, but apparently you knew what to do.
I was from DC. That's all they drank down here, up here, or back there. I'm in Florida now, but yeah.
What part of Florida?
I just moved to Tampa in August.
Okay, no doubt.
I'm down here chilling in the sun now, though. Actually, we're in the middle of a cold front, so it's actually a little chilly today.
Oh God, it was brick here this morning.
It felt like I was back in DC today. Like it was like 38 degrees this morning. We're like, fuck this. We moved to Florida to get away from it.
I love DC. I'm a huge fan of go-go music.
DC's great so DC's home, right? Like I grew up there.
Mm-hmm.
And when I lived in Raleigh for a couple of years, when I left, I went back to DC, Northern Virginia, DC, Maryland.
Right.
And it's a wonderful place to visit. It's great when you haven't been there in a while. But I kind of say the same thing about every kind of major city, but DC mostly because I lived there for a long time. The people suck. Like any major city. Like,
why you say that, man?
So, for instance, when I moved to Raleigh, first day there, I went to go check the mail. And we had one of those like community mailboxes where it was like in the middle of the complex. Like, so everybody has to go to get their mail.
Right.
And 3 different people said, "Hi, how are you today?" People don't say that shit in DC. They like, what are you looking at? What's your problem? Like, it's always a fight. Like if you're like looking at somebody. I got that Southern charm right off the bat. Like,
Southern hospitality.
Yeah, I got that Southern charm right off the bat. And I was just like, I didn't even know how to approach. The first person, I thought they were talking to somebody else. I just ignored them. By the second person, I was just like, sheepishly, I was like, all right, hi. And then the third person, I was like, how are you today? Because then the bartender of me kind of came out. I was like, all right, I got to be social here.
Right.
But people in DC, people in New York, LA, they're just so driven into what they want. If you're in their way, they just run over you. They don't care. Like you're just a casualty. They don't give a shit. So,
you know what? Funny story. Around 98, me and my partner Mike, we went to New York for a week. Went to go to some record labels and stuff. And I remember getting off the train. We were going towards Parsons Ave in Queens, and I was right in front of a bakery. There was this major accident that just happened right in front of me. Now, me being from the South, we gonna run up to it, to make sure everybody's all right, try to help. Bruh, in New York, they just walk right by it like it ain't even happened. I mean, I was like, did y'all not just see that? They would just walk like
they don't care. It slows their day down.
I was like, wow, that was crazy to me. I'm like, y'all not gonna answer they all right? Y'all ain't gonna. They kept it moving.
Mm-hmm. They do not care. You in their way.
I'm like, well, I just learned something about New York today.
you slowed down their path. Like you that accident cost them 10 minutes to get to work. Like well, that's what they care about.
And bruh, let me tell you something. You remember a club called SOBs in New York?
No.
This was years ago. I went to go see Wu-Tang there, and all of them was there except Old Dirty. But Old Dirty was still alive at the time too, so that lets you know how far back this goes. I ordered a drink at the bar, That girl said $18. We're not used to paying that much for no drinks. $18 for a screwdriver, I believe. Vodka and orange juice.
You got hit with those New York prices, yeah.
Yeah.
Ain't even like that.
Bro, I had to call my mama on that one. I was like, Mom, I just paid $18.
That was me the first time I ever went to Times Square and went to a McDonald's and ordered a Big Mac, and that shit was like $10. I was like,
yes,
no,
exactly.
I said, not the meal, just the sandwich. They were like, yeah, $10.
Beat my mind for real. Yo.
Y'all lost your mind when I came down to Raleigh, like, because I was used to like beers costing, especially like craft beers, like $6, $7, $8. And I go down to Raleigh and I'm doing the pricing menu for Clifton's the upstairs bar when it was still open, like when we still had both levels open, and
right.
When it was like a regular restaurant upstairs, and they had Guinness for like $4 or something like that, and I was like, why are you charging so little? You can make more money on this. And they were like, no, you can't. That's just not, you're not in that market anymore. And I was like, all right. I was like, I'm changing it to $5. Let's see what happens. People stopped ordering it. They started ordering everything else. They were like, they weren't going to pay $5 for it. And
no, not at all.
I was like, nah, like different markets, different prices. It's kind of like, it's not like that as much anymore. Like coming down here in Tampa, it's way less cost of living than DC, obviously, like way less.
Right.
But if you go into a bar or restaurant, a lot of the prices aren't that different. Not like they used to be. They kind of like leveled out around the country.
You're right. I'll give you that one.
Like, I'm sure you can go somewhere in the middle of Iowa and you might be able to get a beer for like $3, but most of the other places it's still like same prices everywhere pretty much.
I've never been to Iowa. Not yet anyway. I'm sure once the touring start back, we'll go through there. That's the crazy thing about touring. I went places that I never thought I would go. We went to we had a tour day in Missoula, Montana. And I remember it was so cold. And it was October, but it was cold as hell. I was like, we wasn't even dressed prepared for that. I was like, man, let's go on to sing Ola Ola and get up out of here.
Was there a crowd?
Yes.
That's always my question. Like, will some of these artists go to places like that? But classic hip hop travels, so it's not even a question, really.
Well, see, this is the thing. I Love the 90s was a little different because all the groups I would consider to be crossover artists. So you get a different type of crowd, like Salt-n-Pepa, Kid and Play, Young MC, Tone Loc. You know where I'm going with this.
Yeah. Everybody had their own crowd.
Yes. And I mean, I would say 80 to 85% of those shows were sold out the whole year. I mean, they came ready to party. They would come with the Vanilla Ice outfits on, and I mean, they were dressed for it too.
I would think that'd still be today. Like if touring continued tomorrow, because people are so nostalgic about, especially the 90s, late 80s, early 90s, stuff like that.
But like, again, it's the crowd and the package that you put together. Now, we would do shows with like, I think we did a show with Houdini, Ja Rule, Kane, and a couple other artists. That's a different type of crowd. You know what I'm saying? That's more of the pure hip hop type crowd. They're not dressing like it or whatever. But if you go to one of the I Love the 90s dates, they dress up with the parachute pants and the patent leathers. I mean, they dress for the occasion.
Those were the days. Shit. You know,
yeah,
I was having, not to date myself, but I was having a conversation with my daughter not too long ago, and I was like, I hate being the old guy that, like our parents, right, that says the previous generations or the new generation's music sucks, right? But I told her, I was like, if your generation is so good, why are you guys playing the 90s stuff so much? Like you're rebooting 90s TV shows, you're rebooting 90s movies, you're redoing 90s music.
Sampling 90s. A lot of music now, they sampling 90s stuff.
Yeah, or they're just straight up ripping it.
Right.
You got shows like The Fresh Prince coming back with like reunion specials that sets records because people signed up to HBO Max just to watch that damn thing.
I haven't checked it out yet.
You bring a box of tissues.
Uh-oh.
You're my age. Bring a box. I'm not crying. You're crying. Especially when they started talking about Uncle Phil. Shit.
Oh yeah. Fresh Prince of Bel-Air out, man. That was the show right there. I still remember when it premiered on NBC. I was in 8th grade.
Yeah. Grew up
But
with
could you like you could see the greatness in Will Smith back then.
Oh, 100%.
You know what I'm saying? You knew he was going to blow. As an actor, not even with the music, he was already out there with the music, but as far as the acting, you knew he was about to go next level.
Back then, like he was one of my 2 favorite artists. So I used to like, I know it's kind of like people kind of shit on you for saying it, but like LL and Will Smith were my 2 favorite artists back then.
And I mean, you're entitled to that. It should be.
Yeah.
He's the DJ, I'm the rapper, still one of the greatest hip hop albums ever made.
And the only reason I got any credibility at all with people sometimes is because I told them Mad Skillz was my 3rd favorite rapper, and they didn't know who they was. They didn't know, and I had to play Skills from Where and the Nod Factor and all that shit for him for them to really understand. Because most people outside of VADC didn't know who he was. I mean, in fairness,
right?
I mean, he was like ghostwriting like half of hip hop, but most people just didn't know who he was.
Salute to Mad Skillz, Lonnie B, and all of them.
Oh yeah, for real. I'd love to get Mad Skillz on the show. I reached out once, but I never really got back. He never got back to me, but it is what it is sometimes. What'd you say?
You should be able to get him. You know Lonnie B?
Vaguely, like through association.
I'll see what I can do for you.
I appreciate that, man. He'd be dope to get on. I think he got some crazy stories to tell. So getting back to your DJing stuff, did you do the Scarface party, like that stuff that they did at Clifton's, or was that somebody else? Or you just knew about it?
No, I DJ'd that.
Yeah, that's what I thought, yeah.
Because he had the record My Block.
Yeah.
He had that out. The album, the full album wasn't out yet. And that to me, first of all, let's talk about Scarface for a minute. When people talk about great lyricists, great records, a lot of people don't talk about Scarface.
He's in the top 5 sometimes.
That dude is incredible, bruh. Like, that dude is incredible, and he's the real deal. I never heard nobody diss him on a record, unless I missed it.
No, not at all. Do you think he doesn't get enough, like, well, I guess it's not, I was going to say because he was part of a group in the beginning, but then again, Jadakiss gets so much love, and he's been a part of a group his whole time, really, pretty much.
Jadakiss can rap, bruh.
Yeah, he's my top 5, no question.
That dude to tear your mouth off. Scarface just makes such dope music. You know what I'm saying? Like DMX, Nas, Jay, the who's who of the game, they respect Scarface.
Yeah, that's their inspiration. Yeah.
They respect that man. And he's the real deal. Like he crazy.
Oh yeah. I've heard the stories.
Wow.
I was listening to I think I was listening to an episode of Joe Budden's show, and he was talking about it one day. Like, he was telling a story about Scarface. Like, the first time he like met him in a club or something like that, and he tried to run up on him, and he damn near got his life taken because he came up too fast.
Yeah, I'm like, yeah, man, you can't be messing with, man. All them boys down in Texas, man, they the real deal, man.
Were you there that night that the fight broke out? Like the one with the dude picked up the big old, remember that we had those huge, like giant, like tree plant plots, like outside the windows, and somebody picked one and threw up through the door. People were getting busted in the head with champagne bottles.
I may have been there. I've seen so much drama.
Funny enough, that was the last and only fight that you were talking about, how there's nothing ever popped off at that club.
Right.
And that was the only fight that there ever was. Well, not only fight, but only like big situation. Because after that, like, they couldn't carry guns, right? Like, security couldn't carry guns.
Right.
So keep in mind, the entire security team was all ex-NC State football players. Like, they were all like big ass linebackers and defensive ends and shit that used to play for like NC State.
Right.
So the smallest guy, I think he was like my height. God, I can't remember his name. He was so cool too. But he was also like 300 pounds. And then you had, everybody else was like 6'3", 250. So they all started carrying these big giant Maglite like flashlights that were all metal.
Yeah, I remember. I remember the flashlights. Yeah.
Yeah, and nobody would mess with them. Nobody, because they were like 6'3", 250, and a giant weapon in your hand. After that, nobody messed with any of those dudes. That's why there was no problems there.
Shoot, I used to pull a lot of women out of that club too. So I mean, Clifton's was a good time, man.
Was that where, like, I know you like to say grown folks business a lot of times. Was that where that kind of started? Because you guys used to do that shit all the time there, 25 and up.
Yeah, that would be considered a grown folks club for that time. Yes.
Yeah.
Not like a sugar daddy club or anything
where's
that.
the spot now?
So what now?
Where's the spot now? Like, where does everybody go now in like Raleigh, Durham?
Right now nowhere because of COVID.
Well, you know what I mean.
I know. Honestly, people still do TJs. You know what I'm saying? The showing up grown crowd, like the 45, 50 and up, they'll still do TJs, and it's not really a whole lot of spots popping off right now. You know what I'm saying? And then, especially with me, like I said, I've been touring for so long. It's like
you're not really there.
Yeah, so it's like I'm a little lost in the sauce when it comes to that. But people still do. People still hang out on Glenwood Avenue.
Yeah, that thing has changed so much.
Like Soulless.
The city has changed so much since I've been there.
Oh my God, yeah.
Like some of my people still like working in bartending and living there and stuff, and they'll post a picture or something, or they'll show me something, and I'll just be like, and you know, sometimes when you leave an area, like you always mean to go back.
Right.
I haven't been back in 18 years. Like I'll drive by it. Like I've driven by Raleigh a couple times. Like I know my way around the highways.
Downtown Durham, you wouldn't recognize half that stuff now.
I probably wouldn't recognize it anyway because I really didn't go to Durham too much. Like I went by Central a couple times for a couple parties. And I went to a Bulls game a couple times because I really
would not recognize downtown Durham at all.
Yeah,
they totally remodeled downtown Durham. Totally.
Well, even Chapel Hill. Like I went to Chapel Hill for a little bit, and I wore this hat in honor of you, by the way, because my Carolina hat. But like I went to Chapel Hill.
Go ahead.
Whatever. I know y'all don't want to talk about Duke last night. Anyway.
Keep it going.
But Chapel Hill either. Like Chapel Hill, like you barely recognize now. Like when I lived there, they still had 23. They still had like all the old classic places on North Franklin, like
23.
Jordan spot, the steakhouse.
Right. I only went there a couple times, but I remember.
Yeah.
You remember the Treehouse?
Yeah, I remember all that shit. In Raleigh, like I used to go down and get like shit faced at PB's. That shit ain't there. Like I guess they opened a billiards or something across the street, but it's not the same.
One thing about me, you mentioned Carolina and Duke. I tell you in a heartbeat, I'm a Duke fan, but I can't say nothing. I can't say nothing foul about Carolina because I don't went there and got money. So I've always had a good time in Chapel Hill.
I never thought I'd see the day until I lived there of the amount of people that actually went to both schools. Like would go undergrad at one and graduate like masters at the other one.
Oh, well, you just told me something. I thought you went to Duke.
I was shocked. I was like, because if you went for medicine or something like that, you went to Duke for post-grad. If you went post-grad for law or history or anything.
That you needed, you know?
Yeah, or you went like law or history, you went to UNC. Mm-hmm. You went to agriculture or like vets or any of that stuff, you go to NC State. Like it was all depending on what you wanted to get your degree in. Like the schools were competition in sports, but they weren't really competition in like education.
No, not at all. Heck no. You had to be ill-mannered to be at either one of them.
I was mad as shit the first time I went to go try to find Duke because I was like, I want to see this shitty ass school. Like I hate this place. I want to see this. Like this is me. Like this is like me, like young 20s. Like you got that rivalry in your mind, right? And I'm like, man, F this place. I want to go see it. I've never seen it. I saw it on TV. I've never seen it. And I live here now. I should just go see it. And my mom was actually visiting from DC, and there was a restaurant we used to work at for a long time called Damon's. And so there was one in Durham. The only one left at the time was in Durham. So we were like, all right, we can go to Durham and check it out. But while I'm going there, we're going to pass right by Duke. I want to see the place. Little did I know, you got to fucking have like GPS to get to Duke because it's like behind some trees, off the road. Like you don't know
what part of Duke you're going. Duke is huge.
It is, but like if you go right off 40 and you cut off like the bridge that goes to it, and you take that exit, you'll drive right by it because it's all covered by trees. You have to take that right to like cut out. Like I know where it is now. Like I could get there now, but the time I was like, where the hell is this damn place? Such a big school, you can't find that shit. It was fucking hidden.
Duke used to throw some bomb parties. Woo, we stayed on Duke campus DJing.
Shit, I was by NC State. I didn't have to go anywhere. They fucking had Brent Road. You remember Brent Road?
Yes, I do.
They don't let that happen anymore. Like,
No,
the police
not at
shut
all.
that shit down.
Not at all. I didn't get a chance to DJ at State too much. I remember doing what was it, Pan-African Festival? Is that what it's called?
I don't know.
They used to, well, they did have a festival called Pan-African Festival. I DJ'd that a couple times, but other than that, I really wasn't on NC State's campus.
Living in
like
Raleigh,
that.
I didn't really have much reason to go outside of Raleigh. Because at the time, 2001, 2002, everything was happening in Raleigh. Like, they were building up downtown. They had the office. They had like
wow, I forgot about the office.
But they also had that. They had all those outdoor events. Remember, they had like they had that big park, and they would always like throw these outdoor events, like these big like festivals, jazz fest, food fest, like all these damn food festivals. And then NC State would do a bunch of stuff. And then obviously I was working there, so I didn't really need to like go anywhere. It was more for me wanting to get out of the house and go do something different.
So you really didn't come to Durham, huh?
I did after I broke up with the girl.
Okay.
when I got my single legs back under me, I went to Durham. That's when I went back to school, went to Chapel Hill, and did all that stuff. But and that's also when you met me, like, because I was single then. I was having the time of my life. I was fucking out of my mind.
Hey, at least you kept it 100. Hey, I ain't mad at you, Pepper.
See, I know what you mean by hooking up with a bunch of girls at Clifton. I'm not gonna say too much because my wife might listen to this, but
that was a long time ago.
Let's just say that Mardi Gras party was off the hook.
Did I do the Mardi Gras?
Nah, I think it was she.
If it was on a Friday, they more than like, yeah, it must have been she, dude.
Man, the girls were crazy that night.
I met she back in the 90s.
You still fuck with him?
I haven't talked to him in a while, but yeah, that's my man. We're both Libras, number one. We always did a Libra party together.
But he disappeared for a little while, but he's kind of back in the spotlight now a little bit.
Yeah, he always kind of kept his hand on something. But one thing about he always stayed in his lane.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He always did his own thing. No matter who was having what, who was doing what, he always did what he do. And I always respected him for that.
Let me ask you a question about him. And sure. You don't have to answer this because if it's too personal, you don't have to tell me, or if you don't know. But I have never had the chance to ask him, and me and him don't talk like we used to. I probably should get him on the show too. But there was a situation where he like went missing for a little while. You remember that?
I remember that. I
you know what the resolution was, like how that like ended? Like I know he's like back now and he's fine and everything's healthy, but
I remember that very, very well.
Because it was on the news and everything.
I remember that. I mean, I remember it like it was yesterday, but the backstory on it, I can't even speak on it because I have no clue.
All right. I was just always like, I figured you were in the circle, you might know, but like I have no idea what happened to him. And I knew like eventually like his family found him safe, but I never knew like where he went, like what happened. I
mean, it's to this day it's still a mystery to me, but I remember seeing it on the news. And
next time you see Sheik, tell him I want to know what happened. Okay. Tell him hit Mike up. Like, tell him what happened. You don't got to put it on the air. Just tell me what happened. That's the curiosity in me. All right.
Did you ever go to the Power Company?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where I met Sheed at. Me, Sheed, and Mike. The Power Company, I will go as far as say that was the illest thing, the illest club that ever happened in North Carolina. Ever.
It was crazy.
Ever.
Couldn't breathe in that place. It was wall to wall.
Ever. I had this debate maybe like a month ago. People don't understand. You could go to the Power Company on a Saturday night. You just might see anybody in there. You might see Bill Bellamy in there. You might mess around and see Damon Wayans. Anybody that's in there just chilling.
Mm-hmm.
That's how illmatic the club was. People used to come from DC, New York, just from all over just to go to this club.
I saw 50 Cent in there one time.
Yeah, but a lot of people ain't know who he was at the time. And I
did because like my best friend's from New York, so I got like before he was even big, like I knew all the underground.
I think DMX came through.
50 was out then though.
Come through quite a bit. Clue. Oh man, all kind of people used to just come through. And you know, that was the time the Power Company was so ill. Duke, Carolina players, they all used to party together in the PC.
What year did that close?
I want to say 99, 2000. When did Q-Tip Vibrant thing? That was when it was on its way out. Because I think that was the last big record I remember playing in that club.
So I remember it was closed by the time I moved down there. Like I went down there before, like just chilling in Raleigh. Like when I moved down there, it was already closed. And that was 2001.
Oh yeah, 2001. It was over. I would say 99, 2000. The media, the news really gave that place a bad name.
Yeah, we had a place like that in DC
all kind
too.
Of stuff used to happen in that club.
Yeah, we had a place like the Ritz and some other places in DC that got kind of same kind of treatment.
Right.
You just like wall
PC,
to wall.
You mess around and get some ass in the club. All just bruh. PC was legendary.
So before I let you get out here, tell me a little bit more about what's going on. So when this quarantine and when this COVID and stuff finishes, do you guys got any plans as far as like getting out there on the road, or is it still like up in the air?
We got to make up for all the tour dates that we missed. We missed COVID messed up 2 tours. We had the I Love the 90s was getting ready to gear back up, so we had some dates on that tour, and we were set to go on the Pajama Jammy Jam tour.
Is this nationwide, or are you sticking into a certain area?
Nationwide, all over. But you know what I'm saying, when this coronavirus hit, all that just shut it all down.
So what are you doing? What are you doing now, like during your downtime? Like, are you still like? I know you were talking about doing some stuff on Zoom and doing some other.
I just do a lot. I do a lot of virtual stuff. You know, I'm back on the radio in Atlanta. 105.5, 105.5 theking.com. 105.5 FM The King. It's a brand new station led by Chubb Rock.
Are you doing that from a studio in Durham, or are you like going down for that?
Oh no, I do my work right back here. Just do the mixes and I send them in every day.
Oh, okay.
Yep. Big ups to B Pays. I'm on Monday through Thursday, 8 o'clock house party mix, 105.5 The King. You can get on 105.5theking.com, or you could download the 105.5 King, the app.
Okay.
105.5 King app.
Send me those links. I'll remember about. But yeah, I'll put those in the show notes so people can find you and make sure they listen in.
Okay, every Monday through Thursday, at 8 o'clock.
Yeah, I interviewed a long time ago. I had a neighbor, Toby Knapp, when I was living in outside DC, and he does a lot of the iHeartRadio stuff, and he literally from his house syndicates to like 8 or 9 different like regions, like different like regional areas. Like
I'm also on Fubu Radio. That's popping too. Both me and Skaz are both on Fubu. It's a bunch of us DJs on that. But so you know, we still doing the radio thing. We doing the virtual sets.
Is Fubu still on, like, or not still, but can you get Fubu on demand, or is it all like you gotta catch it streaming?
I think you still gotta catch the stream, but they're in negotiations of some bigger things. So you'll hear about that.
All right, cool.
Big up to Demetrius. What up?
Keep an eye out for that.
Yes.
I will say one thing. So I was so jealous of you when I first moved back. So this is like going back, which probably leads to what you're doing today. But when I first went back, you were hosting a Big Daddy Kane party, and like literally like months after I left. And I was so mad at you. I was like, why the fuck did y'all do that shit after I left?
Well, I mean, Kane lives in Wake Forest, so
does he? I never knew he lived down
there. He's been out here for at least 20-something years.
He's living
Kane's a good friend of mine, man.
He's living that quiet life in Carolina.
Yeah. Still touring, still doing his thing. Yeah, Kane's a good friend of mine, man. Good man.
Rolling in those nice houses up in Wake Forest Estate.
Yeah, you got a very nice house. I will say that.
I used to work down the street from there, and I had a friend who lived up that way, and we like she didn't live in the estates, but she lived up in like the farm area, and every once in a while she'd need a ride, and like we used to go out there and play football.
You'd be amazed how many people come down here to live.
Oh, 100%.
Kane here, You remember Davey DMX?
Mm-hmm.
Davey D? He's here. Matter of fact, Davey D and Skaz are next door neighbors. Next door
There's
neighbors.
a lot of people that like come down to Carolina for that life. I always said, and I never follow through with it, but I said it was a great place to like raise a family and to live a nice life. When I was 25, it was too quiet. But now, like, it's a good spot to be in. I ended up getting to another spot.
Now. You don't need the fast life like you used to.
Well, that's why we chose Tampa instead of Miami. We could have moved to Miami. We chose Tampa. It was a better place to raise our daughter. Word, quieter life. You still get the same like Florida living. Lots of business.
Lots here.
Are you guys gonna be touring down in Tampa? Because I definitely got to see some of those shows.
I'm sure we'll be touching down there. I remember we used to do shows in Miami, Tallahassee, Pensacola. So I'm sure we'll go hit Tampa. Where is SeaWorld?
Orlando.
Oh, okay. I remember we went through there too. So hopefully when we get this touring thing back going, we'll come through Tampa. You know, I'll give you a ring, get you in the show.
Most definitely, especially since you're now the new Martin.
No, I'm not Bilal, but
shit.
Man, it's a good time, man. God's been good, man. I love getting on stage with those guys. It's a good time, real good time.
I'm happy for you, man. You come a long way. I mean, we've all come a long way. It's been a long time, but you just keep growing and growing, and I'm excited for you. I'm happy for you. I hope this whole thing ends soon so you can get back on the road doing what you do.
Yes, Lord. Yeah, we got to get it back popping, man.
Before I let you get out here, give me one story from the tour that people probably shouldn't know.
What kind of story?
Just something crazy popped off during the tour.
Groupies,
some behind the scenes. Now you can leave the groupies out, but some behind the scenes. I'm not trying to ruin people's families here. This ain't our 20s anymore, homie. This is people in their 40s and 50s that got these families. I'm not trying to ruin that.
Oh man,
but some behind the scenes story that doesn't involve groupies.
A story. God, I guess I'm trying to think of one. Without incriminating anybody. Oh man. I got a crazy one. We had a show in Tulsa, Oklahoma. The weather was so bad this morning. I remember I had to fly out from RDU to Chicago O'Hare. And I remember we got to Chicago, and I get to the next gate. There's Young MC and there's Kid. So all three of us are on the same flight to get from Chicago to Tulsa. The weather was so bad, like it was crazy. The weather was stupid.
Just like a lot of snow and stuff.
No, it was a bad thunderstorm. Like This was like a thunderstorm times 10.
Okay.
They actually canceled the flight 2 hours. Like we sat on the plane for at least an hour and a half before they made us get off the plane. Made us get back on the plane, tried to take off, but the weather again was so bad you couldn't see. Made us get off the plane again. They finally canceled the flight. Now, me not knowing any better, I didn't know how close Tulsa was to Chicago. But basically, we ended up having to rent a car. We had to drive from Chicago to Tulsa. And we rent the car, but they lost our luggage. We had to get our luggage. They lost it. So that put us behind 2 hours. 2 hours now. They finally find our luggage. We finally get in the rental car. We had to drive from Chicago to Tulsa. We made it there just in time for the show to start.
Was your equipment and all stuff like on a bus and stuff? So it was already like there?
No, in touring, in those instances, everything that's on our performance rider is already at the performance areas, at the arenas. Yeah, it's already there. We ain't got to bring nothing of our personal stuff except for our laptops and stuff. But we made it just in time to do the show. But then it gets better. Play didn't make it to the show until the show was almost over.
Oh, he got separated from you guys?
He flew separate. He wasn't with us.
Okay.
So basically what ended up happening, we were supposed to went on before Salt-n-Pepa. Salt-n-Pepa, they do their show. They show us an hour. Then Vanilla Ice closed the show. So ultimately what ended up happening, we ended up doing Rolling with Kid and Play during Vanilla Ice set. So the crowd had a chance to at least see one song. But we didn't get a chance to do the whole show because Play didn't get there till it was time. It was show was almost over.
How was that interaction? Salt-n-Pepa, Kid and Play, and Vanilla Ice. How was that chemistry?
I mean, they all been touring with each other ever since the 80s and 90s. So everybody knew everybody. You know what I'm saying? So,
well, like Rob's a little wild. Like he's
a walking party.
Yeah, I'm saying he ain't like necessarily. He ain't the same person he was back in like the 80s and 90s. Like he keeps evolving into something different every year.
Oh yeah, he's the life of the party. Wherever he goes, the party is going with him. He is the party.
Well, on that
his
note,
show is one big party.
I can't wait to see it, man. I'm excited. Like that. Like I remember you talking about it, and I saw some I've seen some videos and stuff online about some of the shows. Mm-hmm. But man, as somebody who's older, just to kind of step back in that world for a night is always like a dream come true for a lot of people, especially hip hop heads from that era.
It's so crazy. Like when we talk to fans prior to going to the show, it's like they're in their late 40s, 50s, or whatever, but that's their chance to go back to 16.
Yeah, it's just a lot of them are older than us.
Yeah, that's their chance to go back and relive their teenage years.
I mean, you and I were basically we love 90s music and stuff, but we were in high school and stuff.
Right.
Our generation of young 20s and stuff is like we were talking about, like the Ludacris and the X-Ecutioners and the little bit the Jay-Z's and stuff like that. That was more like our generation. Like the Big Daddy Kane's and stuff was almost the generation before us.
Well, yeah. I mean, in terms of
we all rocked with it, but it was kind of like an 80s, early 90s thing.
Yeah, we were in our early teens.
Yeah. By the time I got to high school, we were on Wu-Tang and stuff. It had already
What year did you finish high school?
95.
Okay, we came out the same year. So,
yeah.
Yeah, Wu-Tang, that was junior year.
Yeah, they came right towards the end. By my senior year, everybody was rocking Method Man.
Yes.
We all had dating everybody. We all had our Walkmans or Discmans. And we were sitting there rocking out Discmans, and we were rocking out with Wu-Tang. Right. That was what everybody listened to. White kids, black kids, don't matter. Everybody was rocking out Wu-Tang. If you were really like a New York type style hip hop, you were doing Jay-Z. But all that
before
stuff
you became Jay-Z.
Yeah. Biggie, Pac. Yeah.
Nas, Illmatic.
Nas was big. But that was our generation. The more hardcore, almost gangster rap started coming in. Snoop. All that stuff was back then. West Coast, East Coast beef.
That was a dope time to be a DJ too.
Yeah, and that's when we were really that was our generation music. So for Big Daddy Kane, Salt-n-Pepa, all these classic acts like Heavy D, I used to be a big Heavy D fan. All those classic acts were a little bit before us. We just knew about it and we appreciated it because it was so good.
Yeah, shoot, my mom used to buy me all the records.
I mean, let's be real. Most people knew Kid and Play more from in our generation. Most people knew Kid and Play more from the movies than they did
the movies. You are exactly right.
Because the movies were just awesome. They were just insanely good.
And I told the guys this. I'm like, in our show, we do a medley of Do This My Way, Funhouse, and Getting Funky. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. It's I with that kind of audience, I don't expect for them to know Do This My Way. That was 87, 88.
Yeah.
But Rolling with Kid and Play was their big record.
Yeah, I mean, like 87, I was 10. So,
but the show is so. But we
like,
get
I was
you
into like Naughty by Nature. That like, I was,
right. But we get you so into the show. By the time we get to the medley, even if you don't know the record, you're into the show. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, you go back to when we were DJing. Like, how would you like set the mood? Sometimes you go back and play some Marvin Gaye. You go back and play some sexy 60s and 70s music, right? Like some music transcends like the time period. And if it's a classic track, if it's a classic album, if it's a classic artist, people are going to pay to see them no matter, you know, Kid and Play could be in their 60s and probably at least, you know, get people to show up at a crowd. Like, and it's just nostalgia. And it's one of those things.
People talk about how House Party was their favorite movie of all time and how it changed their lives. I remember that movie
launched a lot of careers.
Yes, they did. Kid did
even later, even like
Glad TV.
Yeah, was it 3 that Immature was in it? Like,
yeah, that was House Party 3. Yeah. That was first time you saw Chris Tucker. I think that's the first time a lot of people saw Bernie Mac was House Party 3. Yeah, them dudes broke a lot of careers. I remember one funny story, then I'll be out. This one chick came up to me one night and she was like, what was it like filming House Party? I was like, I wouldn't know. I bought a ticket just like you did.
Marty Marr.
I was not in House Party.
Like, my name is Philip, not Martin.
Right. I was 13 years old when House Party came out.
Yeah, but you were probably doing the same shit like back then, like stuffing the car with the equipment, trying to get to that gig.
Yes, we lived that. I came from that. A lot of these newer DJs, they don't know nothing about that. I came from that.
It's like equipment, turntables, what? No, I just plug in the laptop, I pick a track.
Bruh, me and my partner, Scholar, his mom's had a Toyota Corolla. We talking 91, 92. We used to take this Toyota Corolla, we used to pack at least 8 or 9 crates of records, turntables, amps, speakers, and still made room for somebody to ride with us to the party.
That was like me and my homies, like me and like all the crew, like playing basketball. Like we'd go to like one person would have a car. We'd all be going to like an 18 and another game or something like that, some rec league, something. And you'd have like 6 kids, 7 kids like piled in the car in the back, all just to get in the game. We all be like riding in one car.
That's what it was like during those times.
Shit. Good times. I mean, I'm happy having my own car now, but it's good times.
Right, exactly.
Well, Bro-Rabb, man, I am extremely happy to have caught up with you, man. I'm happy to have you on. I'm excited for your success.
This, man. Thank you.
I'm definitely looking forward. You got to let me know when you guys come through so I can hop onto one of those shows. You got my information. Definitely hit me up.
I got you.
Real quick, tell people where they can find you online, and then I'll let you get out of here.
All right, you know what I'm saying? Mostly be IG at DJ Bro-Rabb. Or if you're a Facebooker, I have 2 Facebook pages. I have a fan page and I have a regular page. My fan page, you got to type in the new DJ Bro-Rabb, Mr. Lord Have Mercy fan page, and you can find me.
There'll be a link. You don't have to remember all that. I'll put a link on that. You're still on Twitter too, right? Like DJ Bro-Rabb? You just don't check it?
Yeah, but I haven't tweeted in so long.
All right. We'll get on there and share this link later. But ladies and gentlemen, this is the Certified Podcast. That was DJ Bro-Rabb, Mr. Lord Have Mercy. My homie for a long time. Great catching up with him.
My man.
That's a wrap. We will see you next week.